magical scene amazed this young woman of Chinese descent, and she couldn't help but marvel. She was even more convinced in her heart that the secrets of this lake were probably much more than this. However, ever since this girl mentioned something about treasure hunting, the old man became somewhat displeased with her. So, early the next morning, Master Dian began to subtly prepare to see her off. Unexpectedly, Li Zhu not only showed no intention of leaving, but instead revealed her true purpose. She compared what she had seen with Feng Shui geomancy and discovered that this Lao Zhang Gu Old Palm Gully perfectly corresponded to a Feng Shui layout that would bring blessings to future generations. Therefore, she believed that there must be a large tomb here. She even invited Master Dian to join, to partner up and pull off something big. As soon as these words were spoken, the expressions of both grandfather and grandson immediately darkened. Seeing that they were both silent, Li Zhu upped the ante. She said that all the proceeds after it was done could be given to the old man to take the lion's share first. As for the other valuables, they could discuss how to handle them together later. The old man couldn't listen anymore. He stated unequivocally on the spot, "There is no large tomb here, and even if there were, he would never do such a wicked and immoral thing." Li Zhu chuckled upon hearing this, and exclaimed in admiration of the old man's high moral standards. Then she changed her approach, saying that they wouldn't talk about proceeds, only the process itself. Moreover, everything discovered afterward could be handed over to the state in its entirety. But the old man completely ignored this, directly advising her not to entertain such devious thoughts anymore. Otherwise, he wouldn't mind reporting the matter to the authorities immediately. Having said that, the old man issued another order to leave. Seeing this, Li Zhu stopped insisting. She indicated that she would book a ticket for her return journey tomorrow. Just that, today being her last day in this mountain village. It shouldn't be too much to ask to enjoy the scenery here one more time, right? The old man was quite helpless upon hearing this. He had no choice but to instruct Zhao Dian to keep a close eye on her. And if he noticed anything suspicious about this girl's actions, he could directly inform the village chief. Along the way, Li Zhu kept exclaiming loudly about everything, making Zhao Dian's ears almost numb. Having grown accustomed to the beautiful scenery of his hometown, he didn't understand what was so special about these rural landscapes, that a foreigner would find them so amazing. On the way, Zhao Dian ran into a few friends. They clamorously teased Zhao Dian, saying he had secretly found a wife. Seeing Zhao Dian's face flush with embarrassment, Li Zhu couldn't help but giggle and laugh continuously. Then, she looked at the continuous mountain range in front of her, and suddenly exclaimed, "There's an aura of royalty emanating from those mountains." Zhao Dian listened, not understanding at all, because he could clearly only smell the smell of farm fertilizer. Li Zhu, not getting the reaction she wanted with her probing, wasn't discouraged. She changed the subject and began praising Master Dian's skills. As soon as Zhao Dian heard this, a sense of pride immediately welled up in him. He even said that not only was his grandfather amazing, but he himself wasn't bad either. After all, he had always been helping his grandfather by his side. These words immediately amused Li Zhu, and she giggled. Could this so-called helping be like what happened last night? Of course. I've really done a lot of ghost busting and demon catching, Zhao Dian affirmed without even thinking. When Li Zhu heard this, her curiosity was immediately piqued. She hurriedly asked, "Are there any stories about tombs among these?" Unexpectedly, as soon as he heard the word tomb, Zhao Dian immediately showed a disgusted expression. He repeatedly warned her not to have any more devious ideas. Li Zhu, feeling helpless, had no choice but to play the sympathy card. She said that she had two friends who were passionate about archaeology, and the three of them had made a bet, wanting to compete within 2 years, to see who could find the most valuable unregistered tomb. As soon as these words came out, Zhao Dian's face almost had the word unbelievable written all over it. The story you've made up. It's like you think no one has seen candle in the tomb. Li Zhu, seeing this, wasn't discouraged. Instead, she said that they were just doing archaeological exploration, and any discoveries would be handed over to the country. She even said that as long as Zhao Dian helped her find clues, she could personally come over and deliver a letter of commendation to Zhao Dian's school. But unexpectedly, Zhao Dian's voice suddenly became serious. He said that he hadn't been to school for a long time. Li Zhu was taken aback when she heard this. She asked with a hint of concern, "Don't your parents care about you at all?" Unexpectedly, Zhao Dian said that he didn't have parents at all. His grandfather had raised him single-handedly. Moreover, he had heard from the villagers that he had grown up drinking goat milk. So, when he cried as a child, it sounded like a lamb. But as soon as he mentioned these things, he thought of the villages, gossiping old grandmothers. These people were always saying bad things about him, saying that he hadn't drunk human milk since he was a child, and when he grew up, he would become an ungrateful wolf cub. The more Zhao Dian spoke, the angrier he became, and he immediately made up his mind that when the time came, he would definitely go to Grandma Zhao Shun's house first, the one with the most wagging tongue, and then catch her chicken and roast it to eat. Although these words revealed childishness in every sentence, Li Zhu, unusually, didn't laugh anymore. Instead, she listened quietly to the end. Then, she didn't know what she was thinking, and suddenly hugged Zhao Dian's head and pressed it against her chest. The warm touch instantly startled Zhao Dian, making him jump. He quickly pushed Li Zhu away, looking utterly bewildered. Unexpectedly, Li Zhu covered her mouth and said with a mischievous smile, "I can give you milk to drink. Then wouldn't you have a mother?" This was quite sudden. Zhao Dian was stunned for a moment. Suddenly, he felt that there seemed to be nothing wrong with this statement. So, without further ado, he directly reached out to lift Li Zhu's clothes, preparing to accept this mother. Now it was Li Zhu's turn to be overwhelmed. She hurriedly explained that it was just a joke, but looking at Zhao Dian's puzzled expression, it was clear that he was quite naive. Seeing this, Li Zhu's mischievousness returned. She quietly leaned close to Zhao Dian's ear and whispered a secret. Only then did Zhao Dian understand that if he wanted to drink milk, he would have to wait until Li Zhu had a baby. Looking again at Li Zhu's flat stomach, he knew that this bad woman had just painted him a super big pie in the sky. Zhao Dian, looking unhappy, immediately ran away in a huff. Early the next morning, a taxi pulled up at the entrance. Before leaving, Li Zhu sincerely thanked the grandfather and grandson repeatedly. Then, she also gave Zhao Dian a mobile phone. Of course, Li Zhu also playfully instructed Zhao Dian not to use this phone to play any King of Glory game. Seeing that his grandfather didn't object, Zhao Dian naturally happily accepted it. He knew that a mobile phone was a rare thing in the village. Thus, Li Zhu, who was originally a bad woman in his heart, transformed into a very kind and practical good sister. Since sending away that boisterous foreign girl, the grandfather and grandson finally returned to their usual peaceful life. But the good times didn't last long. Barely 2 days later, a major event occurred in the village, and it was related to Yuan Lake. One day, the grandfather and grandson were making paper figures in the yard when a strange man suddenly barged in without even knocking. Seeing that the village chief was following behind the man, the old man immediately knew that the matter must be serious. He heard the man, without taking a breath, saying that a girl had fallen into Yuan Lake and couldn't be pulled out. As soon as he heard the words Yuan Lake, the old man was immediately stunned. How could something happen at Yuan Lake? The situation was urgent. The grandfather and grandson couldn't worry about anything else. They hurriedly jumped onto the three-wheeled motorcycle at the door. On the way, the village chief sighed repeatedly, while telling Master Dian what he knew. He said that the girl still couldn't be pulled out even now, and estimating the time she fell into the water, it had probably been several tens of minutes already. The old man's heart thumped when he heard this. Couldn't be pulled out? How could there be such a thing as couldn't be pulled out? Although the village chief was sweating profusely with anxiety, he couldn't quite explain it clearly either. He only knew that the girl who fell into the water seemed to be entangled by a rope, and even pulling with two people, she wouldn't budge at all. But in reality, not even a single strand of seaweed in that lake. How could there be a rope? Old man Dian's eyebrows instantly furrowed. He hurriedly asked the village chief, was the girl who fell in facing upwards or face down? The village chief was startled by this question, because he recalled the girl in the water seemed to have been head down the whole time. Hearing this, the old man was immediately stunned. He recalled a folk legend. The crown of the head points to the Yellow Springs. Looking at it this way, it's likely a ghost head is involved. Thinking of this, the old man hurriedly urged the man to floor it and drive faster. But in reality, the three-wheeler was already at full throttle. Rushing as fast as they could, they finally reached Yuan Lake. At this time, several villagers who came to help had already arrived at the shore. When they saw Old Man Dian arrive, they quickly made way. Then, a young man punted a boat to take them to the center of the lake. On the shore, everyone watched the small boat and prayed incessantly, because now, all their hopes rested on Old Man Dian. However, as the boat slowly approached the center of the lake, a thin mist suddenly appeared on the calm lake. The people on the boat were immediately astonished. They couldn't figure out what was happening, but Old Man Dian saw the strangeness of it. He quickly told everyone to stay on the boat, and absolutely not to touch the water. Then he jumped into the lake alone. As soon as he entered the water, the old man sensed something was wrong with the water, but he couldn't worry about that. He swam directly to the deeper part. Before long, he saw the figure of the little girl, just as the village chief had said. The girl was indeed in a head-down position, hanging vertically in the lake. Old Man Dian didn't hesitate. After getting his footing, he reached out and grabbed her. But just as he touched the corner of her clothes, something suddenly changed with the girl. Child falls into Yuan Lake in shock, and hanging head down in the lake. Two young men, even though they tried their best to lift her, couldn't budge her. Realizing something was wrong, they had to send for Old Man Dian from the village. But since Old Man Dian jumped into the lake until now, it has been several minutes. Seeing no movement, the village chief grew anxious. He feared this eerie situation would take the old man down too. But Zhao Dian wasn't worried, because he knew his grandpa's swimming skills. This amount of time was not long for the old man. However, just as Zhao Dian finished speaking, the young man rowing the boat noticed movement on one side of the lake surface. Suddenly, a bunch of white things bubbled up. They looked closely and realized they were ice shards. Something's wrong. In the hot month of June, how could such things appear? This terrified everyone on the boat. Even the usually fearless Zhao Dian broke into a cold sweat. At this moment, the old man in the water also grew grim, because he found that not only could he not lift the drowned girl, but he'd also stirred up strange ice shards. This brought a hint of anger to the old man. He gritted his teeth and pulled a demon-subduing rod from his waist. Then he swam to the lake bottom right beneath the girl and began inscribing array patterns. After finishing the inscription, the old man thrust it down hard, nailing it into the center of the pattern. In an instant, the ice shards that had formed a whirlpool suddenly scattered, and the girl who'd been hanging head down in the lake slowly floated upwards. Seeing this, the old man quickly reached out to hold her. Then he swam forcefully towards the lake surface. Seeing movement on the lake surface, the village chief was overjoyed. He hastily called for the boat to be rowed over to them. As soon as the old man handed the drowned girl over, he quickly urged Zhao Dian to get ready. But at this moment, he was gasping for breath. He couldn't even speak a full sentence. No way around it. The old man had to take several deep breaths before he could make himself understood. It turned out that he wanted Zhao Dian to quickly activate the Gugua within him and have it search the area for wandering souls. Zhao Dian immediately understood. He immediately went into a half-horse dance and channeled the power of the Gugua in his chest to his hands. And the village chief wasn't idle either. He patted the girl's back anxiously, hoping to see a glimmer of life. But just at this moment, Zhao Dian suddenly withdrew his hands, drenched in sweat, saying he sensed no souls nearby. Upon hearing this, the old man sighed deeply and lowered his head. They silently rowed the boat back to the shore. A deathly silence seemed to announce the result to the expectant crowd on the shore. Announced the result in advance. Later, the old man couldn't help but cry out loud. He was crying for this little girl. Why she had to suffer such misfortune at such a young age. He was crying for himself, even though he'd noticed Yuan Lake's strangeness the day before. Why he hadn't been more prepared. He was also crying for all living beings. Why life is so unpredictable and impermanent. Speaking of the incident of the little girl falling into the water, head down and perishing. Its strangeness was truly astonishing. On the day of the incident, it was actually a pretty good day, and it had rained all day yesterday. Thinking that today in the forest, she should be able to pick a lot of mushrooms. Therefore, Zhao Mai took a huang from her family and went out together. But a whole morning passed. The basket was still almost empty of mushrooms. This naturally made Zhao Mai look unhappy. Although a huang couldn't speak, but it could sense its little owner's sadness. So it barked a few times to comfort her. However, when Zhao Mai passed by Yuan Lake and was about to go home, she suddenly noticed something unusual on the water surface. Because she saw a dark shape was quietly watching them from the lake. It turned out to be a decent-sized bass. Zhao Mai immediately became happy. She signaled a huang to stop barking. Then she hurried to the lakeside. Seeing its little owner about to enter the water, a huang cried out anxiously, but looking at the big bass that was very close and still motionless. Zhao Mai ignored it. However, as Zhao Mai stepped into the lake step by step, she found that the distance between her and the fish remained unchanged. She took a step forward, and the fish retreated a step, and it was still moving and stopping, as if it was teasing her. But Zhao Mai didn't care so much anymore. She jumped high, basket raised, and swung it down at the fish. But the basket hit nothing. Zhao Mai knew she'd missed. However, when she picked up the bamboo basket to check, a huge force suddenly pulled from beneath her. Zhao Mai lost her footing and fell straight into the lake. Seeing that its little owner was in danger, a huang immediately became anxious. Barking loudly, it swam towards Zhao Mai. But as soon as it got close to its little owner, it saw a dark shadow suddenly flash by and instantly dragged Zhao Mai towards the lake's center. A huang panicked and ran around in circles, but it couldn't dive underwater, and it couldn't outswim the fish. It quickly grabbed Zhao Mai's shoe in its mouth and then ran towards the village. On the way, it saw two villagers working in the fields. It ran to them, barking and whining urgently. The two villagers recognized it at a glance, that it was a huang from Zhao Mai's family. Looking again at the shoe that a huang was holding in its mouth, they immediately knew something was wrong. So they quickly followed a huang and ran towards Yuan Lake. As soon as they arrived at the lakeside, The two of them noticed only a half-submerged bamboo basket on the lake surface. Realizing something was seriously wrong, they didn't even think, and jumped straight into the water. They swam all the way to the center of the lake, and only then did they spot Xiao Meimi's faint figure. But the way Xiao Mei was hanging upside down in the lake sent a chill down their spines for no reason. Even as they got closer to Xiao Mei, they increasingly felt that the water temperature was abnormally low. But saving someone was the priority, and they didn't think too much about it. They swam straight over. They positioned themselves one in front and one behind, grabbing Xiao Meimi's shoulders, ready to lift her up. However, no matter how hard they exerted themselves, Xiao Mei remained completely still. It was as if a rope was pulling her from under the lake. Seeing that they were also about to run out of breath, the two had no choice but to swim back to the surface first. Coincidentally, a Huang's barking also attracted the passing village chief. Upon seeing this, the two young men immediately started shouting. They told the village chief to quickly go and fetch Master Dian. Because Xiao Mei, who had sunk into the lake, they simply couldn't pull her up. And so, this led to the scene earlier where the village chief came to the door seeking help. A remote mountain village suddenly had a child fall into the lake. And moreover, she was hanging upside down in the lake. If it weren't for Master Dian personally going into the water, it's feared that no one would have been able to get this child out. But unfortunately, even though Master Dian took action, it was still beyond help. In a fit of anger, the old master immediately stayed here with his gear. He wanted to see exactly what kind of evil spirit dared to be so rampant. After nightfall, a thin mist rose over Yuan Lake. The old master and Zhao Dian sat quietly in a small boat, waiting in silence. A lamp was hanging upside down at the stern of the boat. That was a disturbance warding lamp. The rootless water contained in the disturbance warding lamp was dripping onto the lake surface drop by drop, and the ripples generated by the rootless water initially seemed to be just a slight ripple, but the further it spread, the stronger it became. By the time the ripples spread to the shore, they had turned into huge waves crashing on the shore. Moreover, it wasn't just that. The sound of the dripping water also became louder and louder. If anyone in the village was still awake, they would surely hear that soul-stirring booming sound. However, just moments later, suddenly everything became silent again. It was as if the previous bizarre scenes had never happened. The grandfather and grandson were immediately invigorated. They knew the culprit causing harm had arrived. Sure enough, just a few feet away from the bow of the boat, a huge dorsal fin emerged from the water. The old master was not afraid at all, and immediately roared angrily. "How dare you, you vile creature? Could it be that you finally can't take it anymore?" Then the dark shadow slowly floated to the surface, revealing an extremely grotesque face. The grandfather and grandson looked closely, and that dark shadow was actually a strange fish with 6 eyes. Moreover, on the forehead of that strange fish, there was also a 3-scar pattern that they had seen not long ago. But before Master Dian could figure out the connection, the strange fish suddenly turned around and plunged into the lake. The old master hurriedly reminded Zhao Dian to quickly steady himself. Sure enough, as soon as the old master finished speaking, the strange fish leaped out of the lake, rushing straight towards them. The old master immediately adopted a horse dance and put his palms together, shouting loudly, "Cleanse evil and filter out obstacles." Instantly, a golden gust of wind burst out, sweeping head-on onto the strange fish's head. In just an instant, it locked the momentum of the strange fish in midair, and what rushed through the golden light was just a small catfish weighing a little over 3 pounds. Upon seeing this, the old master directly stepped on it with 1 foot, and then, with lightning speed, he pulled out his demon-subduing pestle, nailing the catfish firmly to the boat plank. Subsequently, Master Dian clenched his fists towards the air, and that ball of golden light that had been previously bound instantly shattered into powder. Seeing this, the old master quickly instructed Zhao Dian to activate the little Guogua in his body and devour all those scattered remnants of spirit. Zhao Dian naturally didn't hesitate at all. He directly stretched out his arm and shouted loudly, "Food, come." Immediately, those remnants of spirit responded and moved, converging into a golden stream of light and being sucked into Zhao Dian's palm. Afterwards, Zhao Dian curiously asked his grandfather exactly what was causing trouble in this lake. Hearing this, the old master looked down at his feet and said it was this catfish that gained power. Having said that, Master Dian sighed with a somewhat lost look into the distance. People all say that Yuan Lake is the most benevolent. For so many years, not even a single domestic animal has ever drowned. But unexpectedly today, its reputation was actually ruined by this evil catfish. It's a pity that now he has no way of knowing